Hey y'all. Well, I was getting ready to put the board back in after installing that capacitor, and I decided, hey, it's not going to be that hard to put these wires in from underneath after all. So I'm going to go ahead and I twisted these up, and I went ahead and go like this and put a little solder on these leads so that when we're putting them through from underneath, we know that there's not going to be any stray strands. They're going to touch somewhere they're not supposed to and cause problems. So we're going to solder these. These are the 6.3 volt AC. And at least I hope, obviously, you know that there's no polarity with AC, so it doesn't matter which way they go. Solder those up really good like that. And then we want to twist these up. And I may have to get this off camera to get these through these holes. Okay, there we go. And as you can see, this one part of the insulation is coming through. So we're going to solder this one first. And then we'll pull this wire down a little bit and then solder the second one. So get my tip clean. Like that. And then we'll pull that one out just a little bit like that. And solder this one in place. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to twist these wires pretty tight like that. If you don't, even I think with this bulkhead in here, you're just asking for hum to get started. Twisting AC wires like that cancels, it cancels each other so that you don't hear the hum. So at this point, you just got to come back around here. And we want to get our LED through the hole like that. And then put these bolts in, and we're ready to power this thing up and test the power supply. Get the hole lined up. Make sure you don't cross thread them, because if you ever cross thread a threaded hole, you'll probably never get it straightened back out. So lost our diode there. There we go. I'm going to do this hole here. Get that a little better in focus for you. And one of my other hobby, lifelong hobby, has been photography. And one of the things I know from that, when you start zooming in to get close-ups like this, the depth of field gets very shallow, and it's hard to get the whole picture in focus. And as soon as you move an inch or so away, the focus changes. And this little camera I've got, this little Olympus DSLR I'm using, the autofocus in video mode is let's just say it's questionable. It seems to jump all around. So I shy away from using the autofocus. At some point I'm probably going to try to get a little better camera setup, but for now, this little Olympus camera works okay. And I use a separate little voice recorder to try to keep the audio clean. And there we go. Zoom out. And there we go. And that's our power supply. So we're going to hook up our isolation transformer, which we always use when we're going to be probing around inside of an unknown device. And there we go. A little LED's lit up. And we're going to see what kind of voltages we have here. And we got a problem. Okay, I'm expecting that. That's our 6.3 volts is a little high, but we're not powering up any of the heaters yet. But that's supposed to be 285 volts, and okay, that's not good. That's supposed to be 200 something volts AC, and it's not. Not sure what we got going on there. This is our power cord. This is 123 volts. Did we not get this soldered good? Clearly we've got no AC coming out of the transformer. So, let's unplug our unit and see what we've got going on. And here we go. This wire here fell out while we were soldering it. Right there. So, yeah, we got this unplugged. We're going to have to, hopefully this isn't going to be too difficult to do. Hopefully we can hold this with these little pliers and fish that through that hole when we heat the solder up. Well, it's a bummer, but it's not the end of the world. Try to get this twisted where it's aimed as straight up as possible. Hopefully we can kind of blindly find this hole. There we go. Sorry I was blocking your view with my arm there, but... And there we go. Once again, no harm, no foul. And there's just an example of Even though the indicator light was on, we still didn't have our plate voltage. Okay, so LED's on. We have it on AC. We're going to check the power coming out of the transformer. And there's 280 volts, which is right at the high end of what this board says is acceptable. And that'll probably come down some when we get a load on it. And there's 7.2 going in on the 6.3 AC. And again, that will probably come down as well once we get some load on it. Let's see what we have as far as DC coming out of the board. Nothing. We've got 9.7 volts going to the heaters. And nothing there. What in the hell is going on with this? We got no AC, we got no DC either. There should be 285 volts there. Well, that's not good. Well, we got a problem. I'm not sure what I did wrong, but we will figure it out. Okay, well, I'm feeling quite stupid. How about we install this choke? Of course, we don't have any DC on the output. There's an open circuit here because we hadn't installed this choke yet. So, I feel like an idiot. Anyway, we're going to bolt this guy here in the back and run these two leads over to here. And pretty sure we're going to have voltage then. So let me do that real quick. Okay, the last piece that we need to install is this choke. And it's going to bolt here to the back of the chassis. And the wires are going to come over here and hook across these two pins right here. I'm going to twist these up. Obviously, you want to put this in last because you wouldn't be able to get to these wires with the transformer. Let me see if I can, yeah, there we go. If you put this in earlier, you wouldn't be able to get to these wires down here to the transformer. So let's put this choke in, and then we think we're going to be ready to go. So the last thing we need to do is put this little choke in here, and we're going to start over here in this corner and hang it off that bolt and let it dangle down like that. That's not the direction it's going to be mounted, but it allows us to get the nut started on this screw here, which otherwise would be really difficult. And again, just kind of hold the nut with your finger. And then once you get the nut started, screw it down a little bit. We don't want to get it super tight yet. And then we're going to swing the choke up in, because it's going to sit like this. And then we get the other screw. Get it started through the hole. And get another K-nut. And balance it on your fingertip. And then hold it in place and run the screw through it. Now these Hammond chokes, the ears stand a little proud of the laminations, so that when you tighten the screws down, it kind of bends the ear over so it touches the chassis, which on the small choke really isn't anything I'm really concerned with. Get it nice and tight. And I've already stripped the end of these wires off, but you want to twist this up. And you want to make sure that it's not just like one wire twisting around the other one. You want to make sure that they're like a twisted pair, because that's what really cancels the hum out. And then that's going to go in there. And with that twisted, it's going to probably try to pull out of there. Nope, it's going to sit there. Let's get that one soldered in. I'm sure some of you are laughing, going, oh, what a goofball. She keeps forgetting stuff and mixing things up. And you may not believe me, but I swear before I started trying to film myself doing this, I never had these kind of issues. I am like having to keep looking over to make sure that what I'm working on is in the scene. And like, let me focus it, zoom in some on this, so you can see me soldering this last wire. Now I feel Mark over Blue Glow's pain. I remember I was watching his video series about the KT88 single-ended amp he built when he fabricated the chassis with the power connector and the speaker terminals on the wrong side of the chassis. And after doing this myself, now I see how that happened. So, shake it out. See, there's a piece of wire was sitting in there. So make sure you shake the whatever you're working on real good before you power it up. So we're going to zoom out. I'm going to plug my isolation transformer back in, and let's hope that this time everything works like it's supposed to. See, now one thing, yeah, see that I don't know if you can, that LED's still glowing a little bit, and this thing's been off for 10 minutes. Those big 2200 UF caps hold power for a long time when there's no tube heaters pulling on them. And so that LED doesn't really tell you much until you have tubes in there as far as it being on or off, but that's on. Now let's see what voltages we get. Set this down in here like this. And first we'll do our AC voltages again. (716) and a little under 280. Now let's see if we have DC where we're supposed to have it, so we can actually move on. 894, like I said, that's going to come down when we put a load on it. And there's 299 DC. Awesome. And again, that's probably going to drop down when we put a load on it too. So now we've got the power supply wired up, working, installed, And the next step is going to be working on these bulkheads in here. One thing I didn't look at was to see if they had installed any kind of bleeder resistor in this circuit. And they didn't. Okay, look guys. Power cord's unplugged. Things off. It's still got over 200 volts. I need to look at the circuit. There may be a bleeder in there and it's just taking a long time. But this is what I warn people about. Just because something's unplugged doesn't mean there's no voltage in there. If you unplugged this thing and then stuck your fingers in here and got shocked by that, I promise you, you'd be having a really bad day. And if you are holding on to the chassis that's grounded and then touched it with your other finger and that shock went across your heart, that may be the last thing you touch. So be careful out there, guys. This stuff can be super freaking dangerous if you're not careful. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe, like, and we'll get back to doing the last of the chassis fab bulkhead work and then install the main board. Have a great day.